is Wakeangel2K1, continuing my quest to expand the Legend of Zelda toy line. Today we are going to be making Ganondorf. Now, the only Ganondorf figure that's been made recently was the Toon Ganondorf for the World of Nintendo line. The regular Ganondorf, like the Ocarina of Time version here, hasn't been seen in action figure form since the really old Video Game Superstars line where he came with that horse. Not bad, but he's in desperate need of an updating. That being said, I'm pretty sure that Jakks Pacific will get around to this version of Ganondorf eventually, since they've already made the Skull Kid, 3 versions of Link, if you include the Dark one, Sheik, and Zelda, so I feel that this guy's update is coming soon. So, to avoid getting scooped, because I really hate that, I decided to tackle a version of Ganondorf that probably isn't going to get a toy anywhere in the near future. I speak, of course, of the Hyrule Warriors Ganondorf, with his crazy wild hair and gigantic armor gauntlets and all that stuff. So let's go ahead and make a toy of Hyrule Warriors Ganondorf. The base figure that I chose for this would be the Warcraft Lothar figure, from the Warcraft movie line. I reviewed this guy a while ago and said that despite a really bad paint job, there was a good toy under there just begging to come out. So I just had to oblige. The figure was actually surprisingly easy to take apart down to his fundamental components, except for the legs, which were held into the hips, which were a kind of plastic that doesn't soften when heat is applied. But, of course, we would start the progress with the head. Now, it turned out that you can peel the hair off, and then I sculpted on the face. Now, I didn't have a convenient Ganondorf face to mush into a mold, so I had to sculpt this bit by bit. First putting on the planes with the eyes and the mouth, along with an outline of where his hair would go, and then adding in things like his nose, the brow ridges, and eventually all of his big old facial hair, because this version of Ganondorf has a rather impressive beard. And of course I forgot to take all the in-between shots until the first layer of hair was sculpted in, so sorry about that. Now when I painted him, I had to paint him first like this. And I know his hair looks a little bit weird, but then once you put on the Gerudo crown thing that he always wears, then his head looks like it's in a much better shape. You see, that's just what his crown hair looks like when there's no crown in place. Once I attached it to the body, I realized that his hair was nowhere near big enough, so I ended up almost tripling its size with a whole bunch more material. I'm glad I bought the 4-pound tub of epoxy this time. And then the only other really big sculpting project was the armor. I chose to go with Lothar for the base figure because his armor was actually a pretty similar design to Ganondorf's. I just had to modify the chest plate and shoulders a little bit. Whereas had I gone with one of the orc guys, then I would have resulted in a figure that had a pretty good physique for it, but with the armor was just, I would have had to sculpt so much to make the armor look right, and I'm pretty sure that I would have squeezed out the head because, the orcs aren't wearing any armor. So, they're not sculpting on armor would kind of interfere with everything that's there. So, it's better to work with a figure that already has armor is what I'm trying to get at. Then the skirts were a pretty simple modification. I just had to cut most of them away until they were in the shape of Ganondorf's, and then paint them in the appropriate colors, red, blue, gold in the right spot. And then the legs, I took the boots off for painting, but then I put them back on. Again, Lothar's boots are actually very similar to Ganondorf's, if only he had some thicker thighs, because he has some really skinny thighs, and Ganondorf does not have such skinny thighs. And the arms, likewise, were just a straight-up repaint. I didn't want to compromise articulation by sculpting on a whole bunch of extra armor, so I just decided to leave them like that. They look pretty good. I mean, they're still armor gauntlets after all. So Ganondorf would need a weapon. Yeah, so I would have gone with the Swords of Darkness, but the problem is that there was, there's only one gripping hand on the Lothar figure, so the dual-wielding Swords of Darkness just wasn't going to happen. So instead, I made a Thief's Trident. It's one of my old paintbrushes with the head cut off, and replaced with a trident head made out of foam board, which is easy to carve and rather lightweight. Then it's all painted gray and silver, and it's a bit of a tight fit, but the Ganon figure can hold it. By which, of course, I mean Ganondorf can hold it. Ganon is a different guy. So here's the completed figure. The arms and legs do look a little bit skinnier than they really should. I chalk that up to the fact that, Lothar wasn't designed to be a super beefy demon man. Although, at 6 inches tall, the figure is significantly physically imposing. He towers over the Ocarina of Time figures made by World of Nintendo, but in such a way that I feel scales for Ganondorf. After all, in canon, this dude is well over 7 feet tall. He could actually look down on Shaquille O'Neal. So yeah, this is Ganondorf in the Hyrule Warriors armor. And let me know what you guys think of him in the comments.